into college football Saturday, our first Saturday of our real first Saturday of the season. Week 1 is here. I got college game day on. Dabo's talking his dumbass on my screen right now. Ethan, happy to have you here. I know we were both up pretty late last night watching that Stanford game. That's the beauty of those East Coast or West Coast games starting at 10:30 p.m. and that game ended like at 2:30 Eastern time. So I know we were both up. Long day today, long day yesterday. Another game on Sunday and another game on Monday. So we have a lot going on. But Ethan, how are you? I could use your calm, cool demeanor for these bets today because I'm a little overwhelmed.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you had some action in that Stanford game. I didn't have anything, but I'm happy Stanford covered. They deserve the cover. It would have been a bad beat for sure if TCU ended up winning that game by double digits. But yeah, long late night. I was up again at like 7:15 this morning. Just too excited for the day. Yeah, I was cooking chili at like 11:30 p.m. last night. Got the grass mowed at 7 this morning. It's just all the fall things, you know.
Jeez, good for
I'm
you.
ready to rock, ready to roll. Feeling pretty confident, which is a little scary. Gonna have a lot of plays. There's 1,000 boosts and you know free risk-free bets and all that going on the sports book. So a lot of opportunity to um, advance your edge. But yeah, really looking forward to today.
Yeah. Before we get into today's slate, do you have? I know you're a Michigan State fan. Michigan State played last night against Florida Atlantic, and I believe they won 16-10. You have any? I know you're on FAU, so I know you won some money on the game. But do you have any reaction for your boys? I know it's first game of the season, new coach, new quarterback, everything. And hopes aren't the highest for Michigan State. But do you have any reactions you care to share about your Spartans?
Yeah, I mean, I actually ended up losing just a little bit just because I did have Nate Carter to score. Michigan State starting running back, 2 rushing touchdowns in the game, one for Childs, one for the backup, or I guess the 1B running back for Michigan State last night. So did not get the win on the player prop. I'm probably done with college touchdown scores after that, to be honest, because it's just kind of a crapshoot. But I don't know. It'll be more exciting if nothing else. I think they had a real shot to lose that game. I'm glad they obviously won, but I did see interview this morning from Aiden Childs, the quarterback, saying it was all his fault that it was even that close and put all the blame on him. So for a young guy, it gives me some hope that he's going to be a good leader in the room. But yeah, I think just his athleticism and playmaking ability at least will give some excitement to Michigan State, which last year they were just a little bit better Iowa, I think. So if nothing else, it'll be a little more exciting.
Yeah. It's always tough to start your career with a first pass attempt being an interception. I still don't. There was a couple questionable calls in that game. I don't really know how that was overturned. Also, some targeting calls that look like blatant targeting got overturned, and some targeting calls weren't called. So obviously, it's a crapshoot for everyone, bettors included. But the referees seem to be a little slow getting into their groove there. Yeah, let's just get into this the Saturday slate. Again, like I said, I'm a little overwhelmed. I have 2 bets locked in, but I'm glad that you're in a calmer mood than I am. But let's just start with the big boy bet, the big boy game of the day. It's also at noon. That is between Clemson and Georgia. Georgia line has plummeted. They were a 14-ish point favorite. It is down to an 11.5 point favorite for Georgia, over under sitting at 49. Now, I know on our Power 5 pick show, you liked Georgia. I liked Clemson. I was kind of hoping Clemson was going to get up to a 2-touchdown dog. And again, it has dropped in favor of Clemson to 11.5 point underdog. Now 11, literally just dropped as I'm looking at it. So from what I'm reading and seeing and Twitter investigating is Georgia, Etienne's brother is supposedly out. Rumors about potentially another running back out for Georgia. I'm going to send it to you because, again, you like Georgia, and I think you also like that injured player theory. And I'm a little worried that the line, if that's true, if those running backs are out, if it's not just Twitter guys BSing me, if those things are true, that kind of makes me want to hop on Georgia now. But I'm going to send it to you if you have a play in this game or what your thoughts are on this Clemson Georgia game.
Yeah, really quick. I'm trying to get a link tweeted out here. Just a moment, but yeah, I don't love the injured player theory quite as much in college, to be honest. So it's not something that I would look too closely at. I've actually flipped. I do like Clemson. I think Clemson would have to be the play. I did see your video on your personal account yesterday about the number's probably gone at this point. You might want to wait to get live action. I completely agree with that. I can't fire away Clemson at plus 11 when I could have gotten 13.5 2 days ago. But yeah, I think Clemson's probably going to be the right side in that game. I still love the under. Yeah, going back to Power 5 picks, that was my favorite play in the game. Thought it was going to be public. Turns out it looks like it is. It's creeping up a little bit higher, so I'm waiting until right before kickoff. There's a nice boost on DraftKings. I think it's like 25%, but I'm probably going to end up using that on the under in Clemson and Georgia.
Yeah. Like I said it this morning, like when I looked at it probably 30 minutes ago, I was sitting at 11.5 and 48.5. Now, again, as we were talking, it moved to 11. Total is now at 49. So we are seeing some late movement in that Clemson Georgia game. Yeah, I could get behind the under on that. I know Clemson's pretty much known for their defense, even though they lost Venables or whatever a couple years back. And then obviously Georgia, one of the best defensive teams in the country. So I could get behind that. I'm not going to play a Clemson at the plus 11, but say Georgia scores and I can get that back to that 13.5. Ideally, I'm looking for that 14.5. I'll probably hop on that. How many, before we keep going, how many bets do you have today?
I've only fired away on one.
Okay.
But I have plenty that I am just kind of waiting around on. I think lines are going to move in my favor, so I haven't fully pulled trigger yet. But yeah, only fired away on one. And just quick touching on that under. If you remember back, I believe it might have been COVID year. It might have been 2020 when these two opened up their season. Obviously, that's years ago. It's different, but it's still Dabo. It's still Kirby. I think that was a 10-7 final or 9-7 final, if I remember right. Super low scoring, which a ton has changed. Basically, every single player, if not every player, is different from that last time out. But I don't know, just another little nugget that makes me kind of like the under.
Yeah, I like that. So that's what I'm leaning at the moment. Again, if I might try to hop in live, there are a couple profit boosts out there. I know I'm on. It's that time of the year, when we're depositing on all of these different books. But I know there is a profit boost on DraftKings. I believe there's one on FanDuel as well. Have not checked ESPN Bet yet or Fanatics. Fanatics has like 15 profit boosts, so there's probably one on Fanatics. But I know both DraftKings and FanDuel have 50% boost on this game. Moving on, again, kind of just going through the slate for all those watching. If you do have a game in mind, please just let us know and we can jump to that game. But we're just kind of taking this in a chronological order as well as order of importance. Another noon game. I actually do have a bet on this game, and this is Penn State, West Virginia. West Virginia is at home. They are now a 7.5-point underdog. Over under is 49 as well. My play in this game, I locked in West Virginia at the plus 8.5, probably on Monday or Tuesday of this week. The line opened right around 10.5. It was like that for a while, and then all of a sudden, early in the week or maybe last weekend, plummeted to an 8-point Penn State favorite. So I hopped on the West Virginia. It's pretty gross. I'm not super proud of the bet. It's an ugly bet. But as you guys know, sometimes ugly bets win. Yeah, and I'm glad I got it. It's the 7.5 is pretty ugly. I don't know. West Virginia, a very tough place to play. The one thing that does worry me is James Franklin, I think, knows he's known for covering spreads. And that's just what he does. He does it every freaking year. At the end of the game, he makes some questionable calls. that you're like, does he have the spread in mind? Because he 100% does. And I don't know if it's part of his coaching strategy that he's like 100% against the spread and still can't win the big games, but he covers. I don't know if that's his motto or what, but yeah, I'm a little nervous, but I think West Virginia is going to get it. Going to keep it close. I would also lean the under in this game as well. If West Virginia is covering, it's not going to be a shootout. So the only way I can see West Virginia covering if it's like a, 24-20 type of game where they keep it semi-close, lower scoring. But yeah, I locked in the West Virginia at the plus 8.5. That's one of my two bets as of right now.
Yeah, I definitely side with West Virginia. Have not bet this game. Again, I have a boost for it, so I'm probably just gonna play the boost. My boosts on DraftKings max out at like a half unit, so it's not anything great by any means, but it's kind of nice if I don't have too big of an opinion, I can just get some action on it for half unit. Not that bad. So I'm probably gonna use it on the under. I prefer the under, I think, at this point over the West Virginia side, although I do lean West Virginia. It's just my fear with West Virginia is I've heard so many betters, I guess, more sharp betters than like public, but I've just heard a lot of, I guess, sharps lining up on West Virginia. And sometimes when I don't hear anybody on the other side, it just makes me a little nervous. So I think I'm going to have to stay away from West Virginia. I like it a lot more at the 8.5 than the 7.5. It probably lands Penn State by a touchdown, but yeah, I think the under is my preferred side in this game. I see I think we could see a ground game. Nice defense early. Like you said, West Virginia, tough place to play. I think it could kind of stifle Penn State's offense early on in the game. Maybe look at the first half under. Like I said, I'll probably just play this one half unit for action just because I have a boost on it, but not a game that I love by any means.
Yeah, it's ugly. It's an ugly game. I like the under. I might get involved on that as well. I think there also might be there's a lot of boosts out there. I keep forgetting what book has what boosts, but I know there is a lot of boosts out there. This one could potentially be that game. And again, Ethan, please stop me if you do have a bet that I skip over or a game that you like that I skip over. But we have a couple other games at this noon slate. A couple Big Ten games that I probably will not have bets on. Again, in the chat too, if you guys do have a game that you want us to talk about, please let us know on there. But a couple Big Ten games: UConn, Maryland, Illinois State, Iowa. Nothing in there for me. There's a couple other noon games: Navy, Bucknell. I do see some sharp money coming in on Bucknell. Same thing with Purdue, Indiana State. Seeing some sharp money coming in on Purdue in that game. But nothing in there for me. Anything of that noon slate for you besides the big boy game of Clemson, Georgia, Penn State, West Virginia?
Yeah, so the one bet I have locked in here is Vatech minus 13.5. To be completely honest with you, started looking at this game because it's one of the guys I follow quite religiously. It's one of his favorite games of the day, so started looking into it. Basically, Vatech in our ACC preview, we were both somewhat high on them. I think they're going to have a pretty decent season. And then Vanderbilt, we mentioned them in the SEC breakdown video. They're just always in the doghouse of the SEC. Just not a good football school whatsoever. The line is a little bit fishy. Vatech is a little bit public. So that worries me just a little bit, but I think ultimately it's just kind of a short number on a team that's going to end up being way better than Vanderbilt.
Yeah. I can't even bet that because I'm out of bookie money and I live in Virginia. But that was one of those weird lines. I know Virginia Tech is, they have high hopes for the season. I know they ended that last year on a good run. So people are pretty high on Virginia Tech. That line was a little fishy. I was definitely expecting them to be closer to a 2 touchdown favorite, but again, I can't bet on it. So Since I'm not going to bet it, I'll say, yeah, Virginia Tech. If I were to have bet on it, I'd maybe contemplate throwing Vandy just because it's ugly. But again, there's no, unless I get in my car right now and go across the bridge, there's no possible way for me to bet that game. But yeah, Vandy's on paper terrible. And they have that New Mexico State quarterback transfer who is a little rascal guy, but I think he's just going to really struggle in big time football. So, yeah, should probably be a Virginia Tech slaughter. I do have a bet on this 2 p.m. game. Kind of a weird time slot here. South Dakota State, Oklahoma State. I did not bet North Dakota State on the spread, and I should have. I liked this game more than the North Dakota State game because it is oh, fuck me. They're plus 12 now. Yeah, well, my bet is South Dakota State at the plus 10. Unfortunately, they have moved to a plus 12 dog against OK State. The reasoning I like this one more than that North Dakota State is simply the rankings. You have Colorado, who is a very public team, but also very publicly known that they suck. Oklahoma State, high hopes, number 17 in the country at home as well. And I know South Dakota State, I believe they won the FCS last year. I think they knocked out North Dakota State in the semis or quarterfinals. So South Dakota State is a better team, but Oklahoma State is night and day compared to Colorado. So it was a little fishy to me to see a 10-point spread. Unfortunately, like I said, I just looked and it's 12 points now. So that bet is pretty much caked. But yeah, I have South Dakota State locked in at the plus 10. So that sucks. But you got any read on that game? I know we kind of talked about that one. It's a little bit of a fishy game, fishy spread. But do you have anything on that guy?
Yeah, I would lean San Diego or South Dakota State. I might get involved. I do have 2 risk-free bets that I'm looking to use on games I don't feel super comfortable on, but just have a decent lean. This was probably one of them. And again, it's just a weird way to really handicap. It's kind of just a gut feeling, but I do that college pick'ems where they give you 10 games. You got to rank them by confidence, blah, blah, blah. This game is in there. They always try to catch people who are a little bit more novice to college football and betting and whatnot. And, games like that always just make me a little bit weary. Everyone's going to load up Oklahoma State at home, 17th ranked in the country, as their most confident winner on the card today. I'm not so sure that I have them pretty high as well, and they probably get it done. But it's just one of those fishy games that ESPN throws into that pick'ems thing. So I'm always weary on those. So I would definitely lead in South Dakota State. I guess call me crazy. I guess I wouldn't be totally shocked if they get the outright win, but I only say that on a gut feeling.
Ben, what is up, brother? We see this. We've seen this a lot with Oklahoma State. I believe they lost to CMU in the opener 2 or 3 years ago, and then they played CMU again and almost lost again, but covered by a touchdown. So it's nothing new for Oklahoma State to not even in their opener. We see Oklahoma State every single year lose games they shouldn't lose. They are a very inconsistent team, always a very solid team. They beat teams every single year that they shouldn't beat, but they also lose like that one really weird game. And I have that Central Michigan because wasn't it a Hail Mary? And hook and ladder, Hail Mary-ish type of play.
Hail Mary, hook and ladder, yeah.
Yeah. And they had to he had to run sideways to get to the end zone because the guy, yeah. And it was diving on the pylon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great play.
It was at CMU.
It was.
Okay. And then they played again the next year, and I think it was like a touchdown spread. So it's nothing new for Oklahoma State to struggle week 1. Hopefully they do tonight or today. Again, I have South Dakota State at the plus 10. Unfortunately, that line moved. Not in my favor. That's happened a couple of times to me this week. Go ahead.
One more quick thing on this, and I'm probably actually going to get to the window. Oklahoma State they have Arkansas on deck next week. They've already gotten to see Arkansas blow out, I believe, Pine Bluff 60-0. That's a noon kickoff on ABC, nationally televised game. I think Oklahoma State's probably way more worried about Arkansas. Not that they, you always come out week 1 and you want to get that win, but South Dakota State plays Incarnate Word, so there's absolutely no chance they're looking ahead. They're going to give their best effort against Oklahoma State. Yeah, I'm in. I'm going to take South Dakota State plus the points.
Yeah. I don't hit at all. And also a strategy. You can potentially wait and see if OK State scores first and maybe get that a 14-point spread possibly. Again, if you do live bet, I'm not a big live better. If you do live bet, make sure you just have a number in mind before you just blindly throw some live bets. Cameron, am I getting winners today or what? Is this a drinking stream? Well, I was up till 3:30 last night, so I got a little bit of a scratchy throat. We got some coffee from Ethan. I have an emergency in a shaker bottle, so trying to stay. It's a dangerous time of the year. Can't get sick during football. Yes. I still need to figure out what I'm doing in that Clemson game, Cam. If you have a bet, I know you. Actually, I think you have Clemson, don't you, Cam? And then again, I have West Virginia plus 8.5, and then we just talked about South Dakota State. We're both on that spread. And then one of the go ahead.
Just going back to the live, I'll probably end up throwing a half unit on the South Dakota State before kickoff, and then waiting, like you said, try to get in if Oklahoma State does score first. Worked out for me. I didn't need it last night in the Michigan State game, but I got a nice plus 17 on FAU, which was obviously never in doubt, where the plus 12.5 or whatever I had could have been in question had State scored and went for 2 to make it a 14-point game. But yeah, that's probably how I'll play a lot of these spreads in between like the 10 to 13 range throughout the season.
Yeah, I still kind of thought that Michigan State spread was going to be alive. I had them at the 13.5, so I needed that, that 14, and I was thinking possibly with like 8 to 6 minutes left that they were going to score and go for 2 and potentially get a 14-point lead there. Cam, first college football of the year. I was expecting shot taking. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of saving my liver for next weekend. I'm actually heading down to Philly next weekend for the Lions opening game. Me and my buddies are watching Sunday night, but we're going down Saturday watching, I know, Michigan, Texas, a couple other games, then obviously week 1 NFL. So that's one of my buddies, Cam. Prince Betts, have you ever seen him on Twitter? I think he's texting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's an ass. 3:30. And I'm skipping over a couple. I'm not going to talk about Towson, Cincinnati, Portland State. I'm not going to talk about that. It's 3:30, a game that I'm really interested in, really want to have some money in, and that is Miami versus Florida. It's still Florida for me. I'm still leaning Florida. I have to look at the lines a little bit more. I know, again, on our show you were leaning Miami. Do you have a better lean as of now?
I still like Miami. I don't think I'm going to end up betting that game, but if I did, it'd be Miami money line.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of thought Mertz or whatever, the Florida quarterback, was worse than he actually had a fantastic season last year. He had the best of his career. High touchdown to interception ratio. I think that his highest ever passing completion. He had a decent year, and then he was also playing in SEC football. Unfortunately, Florida sucked, and they're not going to be much better this year. But yeah, I was kind of hoping he was going to suck, and that's why the line was like that. But I actually don't think he's terrible. But yeah, I need to find something in this game. I originally liked the over as well in that Power 5 pick show. Don't know if I love that as much. I see it has dropped a half a point since we recorded that. It's down to 54. I believe it was at 55. But yeah, I really want to have some in this game. It is probably the best 3:30 game. So I might have something in that before we get into the night slate. Going through this afternoon, a lot of games. Obviously, 3:30 is a popular time slot. Do you have anything on these 3:30 games or games that you are eyeing?
Yeah, so I have 3 quick leans. 3 games I'll probably get to the window on. Have not bet them yet. Probably going to be my sharpest play of the day. I love UMass against Eastern Michigan. I have a buddy, affiliated with UMass. This is no insider information, I promise. But but I think UMass is going to be better than expected this year. I think they're going to be, not quite the bottom of the barrel for college football. I think they could get up to, like 4 wins, which for them is a pretty darn good season, maybe even 5. I think they beat Eastern. This is becoming a little bit of a rivalry. These teams play every year. I was at the UMass Eastern game a year or two ago when these teams played. Eastern ended up winning, and then I believe Eastern won last year as well. But UMass, they return a good amount of their offensive players. Senior quarterback who I think is going to be actually a pretty decent QB. And yeah, they have some athletes on their team. There is some public on Eastern. The line is moving in UMass's favor. Haven't quite decided if I'm just going to play the money line, which I believe is minus 130, or lay the points. I'm probably just going to take the money line on them. I think UMass has a nice opening game here. I think they win relatively comfortably.
Yeah, if you ever see UMass as a favorite, something's probably a little fishy about that. So I right off the bat, I like that. I was as you were talking, looking at betting splits, and I haven't quite found them yet. But I know Eastern's not great. Eastern hasn't really been good since they had Max Crosby. But UMass is notoriously known for being a terrible football program. No punt or no shot at your friend there, but they're just not a good program historically. So every time you see them as a 2.5 point favorite, or if you ever see them as a favorite, usually that should pique your interest or pique your curiosity. So I mean, I don't know if I'm going to bet it just because there's so many better games on today, but I don't hate that at all. So I'll have to look a little bit at the splits on that to see if that could be a play. But I honestly don't hate that at all. Anything else? 3:30.
Yeah, I do have 2 more.
You said 3.
So this is just an angle that I tend to look at week 1. It's the great teams. Last year I did it with Alabama and Michigan. This year I'm looking at Ohio State, maybe a couple other teams, maybe Bama again. First half spread on Ohio State, it's high. They need to score like 5 times, I think, to cover in the first half. But they're playing Akron. I mean, it's the biggest mismatch probably of the season. Akron going to be one of the worst teams in the FBS. Ohio State going to be one of the best. Ohio State, or the really good teams, they come out slinging first game of the season, just want to bury their opponent, and then it can slow down a little bit in the second half. I do think Ohio State ultimately covers the 48.5 full game, but week 1 I like looking at these huge favorites playing the first half spread. I've had decent success doing so. Or potentially Ohio State first half team total over as well. Have not seen where those lines are. That's a game I was debating using a risk-free bet on. But that's an angle I like to look at. And then another one of my favorite games, Miami, Ohio, plus the 3.5. Think they win outright. Northwestern is pretty public. Northwestern I just don't think they're going to be very good this year. They had a decent season last year. And I think a lot of people think they're going to repeat that, but I just don't think they will. And then, again, not that there's like a huge look-ahead spot here, but Northwestern does play a standalone 9 p.m. Friday night game next week at home against Duke, which is just a little bit better competition for them. So I think they'll, want to give a good effort on Friday night when everyone's eyes are on them. I think they probably believe they can just go into their home stadium, get a nice, easy home win against a MAC school, and then head on to Duke. I think Miami's going to come out firing. Miami of Ohio had a nice year last year. I think they have potential to kind of repeat their good season. And again, Northwestern's pretty public. So, Miami, Ohio, plus the 3.5. I think they probably win this one outright.
Yeah. Some of those big spreads. Also, Cam, you can say, may I say something? Sure. You let us know. Big spread on Ohio State. And we've seen Ohio State win opening games massively. He has nuked the Detroit Tigers minus 133, $333 to win $250. Happy Saturday, gentlemen. Tigers lost yesterday, didn't they? I'm done with baseball. But good luck. Go Tigers.
I might join.
Tigers money line. Who's on the mound? If Kenta's pitching, I will not be betting that. But yeah, good luck, Ron. Anyways, back to Ohio State. We see them every single year, especially in the regular or in the early non-conference part of the season, just destroying teams. And then we're like, holy hell, Ohio State's going to be a problem. Well, we already know they're going to be a problem, and I think this is just the icing on the cake that they should just. Oh, Scooby's on the mound. Okay, Scooby Doo. They should just blow these guys out of the water. I have seen the line move a little bit in Akron's favor, but I just think people are getting a little worried about a 7 touchdown favorite. It's always tough to lay, but I think it should be safe with Ohio State there. And then Northwestern, yeah, no really read on them for me. God, but who knows what they're gonna do? They surprise people every year, or they just extremely disappointing. I was watching, speaking of Northwestern, was watching some sort of Michigan like hype video or Harbaugh type of like documentary kind of thing. It was like 2015 or 2016, and they were talking about the Big Ten championship game. Northwestern was in that. Like, I don't know. It was like one of the first or second years of the Big Ten or of Harbaugh's in the Big Ten. So like 2014, 15, 16. But I was like, Northwestern in the Big Ten championship, but also the West Big Ten bracket sucks, so it's not that surprising. They have to beat Iowa and Wisconsin. That's about it. But that was, yeah, maybe that was the heyday of whatever. What's his name? That's fired now, Fitzgerald.
Yeah, Pat Fitzgerald.
I don't know. Yeah, I know they had a couple of good years, but yeah.
I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like that was a year where they won on like a bunch of tiebreakers or something like that.
It could, yeah. It probably, I mean, again, the West part of the Big Ten was ass.
Yeah.
Do we even have that anymore? Or is it just the 2 best teams? I thought they changed that. Who knows? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. There are some 4 o'clock games, 5 o'clock games, 6 o'clock games. Again, nothing super surprising or noteworthy to me. What's your? Oh, you already give out your one bet?
Yeah, Vatek.
Okay. We're going to talk about the big game tonight. And then again, if there's any other games in between then and now, let me know. The big game tonight, I think it's where game day is at. Notre Dame, Texas A&M. Notre Dame is a 3-point dog, over under 47.5. Notre Dame money line, plus 130. Texas A&M money line, minus 155. I know we are both on A&M and Power 5 picks. Is that still where you lean?
Yep. Still like the under, still like A&M money line. Not confident enough to lay the 3, so I am going to eat the juice on the money line. It is a bet I'm going to place. Under is also a bet I will probably end up placing. Yeah, I like A&M quite a bit.
Yeah. I don't know what Notre Dame's going to do. I think Notre Dame's a better team. But it's also at A&M, first game of the year, new quarterback. There's a lot of ifs, ands for Notre Dame. I'm not super high on A&M, but the line really hasn't budged. I do know Notre Dame is at one point one of the more publicly bet underdogs to win outright. Yeah, I like A&M. I still like A&M. Just got to figure out what I want to do on that. First half under in the A&M from Cam.
Like it.
I like it. First half under A&M. Writing it down. First half under. You know, let me pull up your action. See what you got yourself into today besides the Tigers. I know I saw you were on Clemson 13.5.
While you're doing that, I will just quick mention the Bama. They're 33-point favorite against Western Kentucky. Another first half spread that I like in that one. I think they're going to come out first game out of the Nick Saban era. I think Milroe has quite a bit to prove from his streaky start to the year last year. He finished pretty strong. Yeah, I think Bama comes out firing like they usually do in their opening week, and I think they. I don't actually have the number in front of me what their first half spread is, but I think they're going to come out and really put the hammer down on Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I don't have any doubts that they won't. Cam's on Fresno State at the plus 21. Getting into Fresno State, they are playing my Wolverines. I I guess I kind of lean that. I'm not going to bet against my boys, but it's a weird spread. The line really hasn't moved. It's actually dropped towards Fresno State. I believe this opened barely over the line now at 21 and a half. It's moved a little bit. You know, people are pumping money in on Michigan. They always do. Michigan, very public team, very well-known team, also national champion. Um, I am not going to get there on the Michigan spread. If I am going to get there, it's going to be possibly something live on Michigan or just take the under or something. But Michigan, it's going to be a very ugly game. Lost 13 guys to the draft. New coach, new coordinators, new everything, new quarterback. Don't even know who their starter is, by the way. Think they're going to do kind of something similar to what they did with McNamara and JJ, where they're doing every other drive, or I don't know. I don't know what's going on. There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts for the Wolverines. A lot of unknowns. So I can't lay the 21. I do think Michigan's going to win, but I think it's going to be super ugly. So I kind of have like a 24-12 type of win or something weird or something, I don't know, something weird where it's Michigan's not going to score much into the 20s and Fresno is going to be around, 0 to 9 to 12 points ish. So I like the under. I don't think Michigan's going to score a lot. Again, a lot of crazy things going on in their new offense. And then I think Michigan, completely biased, is going to have the best defense in the country. So, and I don't know anything about Fresno State. Don't really care. I know they are, I think, projected third in the Mountain West, so they're not a terrible Mountain West squad. But I think it's gonna be an ugly, low-scoring game. So I don't know. I'm gonna have a bet. I have to have a bet on week one. And again, if there is any sort of alcohol involved today, first sip that goes down my gullet is gonna be me on DraftKings hammering Michigan minus 21 after I said I'm not going to take it. But yeah, it's going to be an ugly game. I think Fresno's probably the right bet. So, Cam, I probably agree with you on that one. You got to read as a Michigan Stater.
My gut actually tells me Michigan's going to cover. But I can't play it because I cannot play on the national champion in their first game the next year. I also cannot play on Michigan when they have Texas look-ahead game on deck. And I think Michigan's going to be a 9-win team this year, so I think they're going to regress. I mean, obviously, it's tough to repeat and get better than you were when you were a national champion, but I just can't play Michigan, but I also can't play Fresno State. My gut just kind of tells me Michigan might sneak out with a cover.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely gonna be worse than they were last year. Again, Michigan hasn't had. I'm not ready for this. Michigan hasn't had a regular season loss since 2022 against Michigan State. Terrible day for me. Kenneth Walker had like 15 touchdowns, but that was their last regular season loss. They went the last two regular seasons undefeated. Obviously, 15-0 last year. I don't know if I'm ready for a regular season loss. It could very well happen in 7 days from now, but it's not going to happen today. But I do think it's going to be a little bit of an ugly game. Here's kind of what I want. Sorry about a little Michigan rant. I want Michigan to, well, as of right now, come game time, it's going to be completely different. I want Michigan to look a little ugly, struggle a little bit, to jump that line up next week for Texas, and then we hammer Michigan at a overreaction spread, similar to like I've actually gotten really high on Florida State on Monday. So similar to that overreaction, a 5-point swing for Florida State spread because they lost at Dublin. They're in Dublin against a very underrated Georgia Tech team. I love Georgia Tech, or sorry, I love Florida State, just like I'm gonna love Michigan if they do have an ugly game next week against Texas. Not a man on earth trusts Alex Orji. Not a man on earth. Yeah, I mean, I don't trust him either, but he's a hell of an athlete. It just, if he starts throwing interceptions and fumbling, then we're fucked. But if he does somewhat to what JJ did and just kind of minded his own business and threw 15-yard checkdowns and handed the ball off, I think we might be okay. Or if he runs the ball a little bit too. What else do we got? You got anything else you're eyeing today?
I'm looking deep. I don't think so. Just kind of sucks. There's no like really good night game tonight, like a true night game, like a 10, 10:30, 9. Yeah, I think as
Cam,
far as
Cam, I
football,
see you're on Arizona minus 31. I see it's minus 30 now. I don't know. I have to look at a lot of stuff still. We do have an hour until kickoff, so we will end this semi shortly just so we can. It's hard to multitask. It's hard to talk and, and look at splits and find bets, but yeah, we got hour till kickoff. Again, going through our bets for today. I have locked in South Dakota State plus 10, and I have locked in West Virginia plus 8.5. I am eyeing that Georgia Clemson under. I am eyeing that Notre Dame A&M first half and full game under. Will have a bet in Miami, Florida. Just don't know what it's going to be. And then I will have a bet in Michigan. Just don't know what it's going to be. Again, I will post all my plays on Twitter before the game start if you do want to follow on there. Yeah, go ahead. And I cut you off there for a second.
no, you're good. Yeah, I have Vatek minus 13.5, locked that in. I will be playing an under in Georgia Clemson or a first half under. Now I'm kind of second guessing here, so same thing. I'll tweet everything out, but one of the unders in that game I will play. We'll probably play the under Penn State, West Virginia. Two of my favorite bets, I'll be on UMass money line and Miami of Ohio plus 3.5. And then let's see, Ohio State first half spread. Probably end up on Bama first half spread. A&M, Notre Dame and A&M under. And that, as of now, I think is going to be the card.
Yeah, it's it's going to be a big day. Again, we do have to get off shortly to get our bets in, and honestly look at the board a little bit without having to talk. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm nervous. There still feels like I have to do a lot in the next hour. But I'm super excited that the time is here. We will have. Go ahead. What do you say? 2 units.
I'm going to do 2 units on UMass.
Good gravy.
That's so gross.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. It's a fishy spread. God, this freaking Clemson game, man. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
11. It's 10.5 now on books. What the hell is going on? I worry Clemson is too much of the bet there, man.
Yeah, I'm definitely waiting on that.
10.5 on DraftKings for Clemson. Strap 3 points with 16% of the bets on DraftKings. Obviously, people will always think, well, whatever. God damn it. I got greedy and I was waiting for the 14 and I never got it. Probably should have just paid for the extra half point, but I just don't really love buying points.
Yeah. So I told myself after missing out on Georgia Tech last week, because I was kicking myself like 3 days after that because I really liked Georgia Tech last week. But I told myself I see a team that I want, and if the number's just not quite there, I'm just going to start doing the half unit just to get some action in on it so I don't miss it, and then have another half unit or, you know, a unit and a half, whatever you want to play it at, to kind of dabble with. Yeah, I think that's how I'm going to approach it because I was kicking myself after missing that Georgia Tech line last week. When any line was good.
Yeah, I don't think that's a terrible idea. Yeah, half unit like early in the week, and then if the line doesn't move in your favor, just don't double down, and if it does or doesn't move, just double down. Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Just to say that there's no worse feeling than like what we're experiencing right now, where we wanted Clemson and then the lines drop 3 points, or a worse experience where you get, say, you got Clemson at the plus 13 and a half, and now come kickoff, it's 14 and a half. That's also a terrible feeling where it's a shittier line. But in that situation, you could just double down and get a better line as well. So yeah, I don't hate that at all. My problem is I'm just not that educated or knowledgeable or have the time to dive into these early, like the way I look at bets is I watch the movement, and that kind of helps me make a decision. I guess early in the week, I guess you just got to go with your gut and what you think the line's going to do. Right.
Yeah.
But like, what I'm saying? Like my knowledge comes off how the line moves according to the bets. Like that's how I find value or find what I think is the sharp side. I have to wait a little bit. But also you can do that. The line does move, not just before kickoff. It does move, like you said, a week before. Yeah, I don't know. I might dive into that. Get some nice closing line value.
Yeah.
Potentially.
And for me, it's tough to get ahead of line moves early in college football season. Like NFL, I feel like I can get ahead of a lot of moves. Just because there's more consistency at the NFL level, players and coaches, and no transfer portal, obviously, and less teams. It's easier to kind of keep track. But especially in these non-conference games like Ohio State, Akron, like how are we supposed to know if that game's gonna go in Ohio State's favor, Akron's favor? I would have expected everyone to hammer Ohio State, and then you were saying the line was coming down a little bit in Akron's favor. It's tough to gauge early in college football, at least for me. I think conference play is a little bit easier to get ahead of some moves, but yeah, for the time being, I'm gonna stick to that strategy. If I like a line, if it's just not quite the number I want, at least get a little bit down on it just to have it, and then see what happens.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Seeing some sharp money on this UMass EMU over.
What are you seeing as far as the money line? Because now I'm starting to see UMass a little bit more of the public side on some accounts.
Yeah. I mean, on Pickett, 68% of the bets, 72% of the money on UMass money line. DraftKings, 53% of the bets on UMass money line. Action.
Action is like pretty high, 86%. I just don't trust that
on UMass.
Yeah.
Actions, totals, and their money lines seem messed up. Their spreads are usually pretty good, but like you look at every single baseball bet on Action, like if you look at the line movement, it's like every single game is like 99% of the money, the bets are on the over. I was like, okay, that's first of all not true.
Right.
So I think their totals and their money lines are sometimes skewed a little bit.
Or they're just
getting. Go ahead.
Go
ahead.
I just see UMass spread on Action is 42%. It's gone from -1 to -2.5. So yeah, I trust that more than 86% on the money line.
Right. And I know like Pickett, they factor into like if you have them in a parlay leg, like that's factored into the obviously probably not a whole lot of UMass moneyline parlays just because it's a weird game, but like if you look at like a 10 plus point favorite, they're going to have a lot of bets just because people are throwing that into parlays. So
right.
I know it's every site uses, they do something a little different. So that's why you got to use a lot. But unfortunately, I think some of these sites piggyback off each other too. So, yeah, it's tough. But all right, do you have anything else before we stop this stream here?
I don't, man. I'm excited. It's here. 1 hour.
It's here. We're 1 hour out. Again, we will be posting our plays on Twitter. Our usernames are right under our icons here. Thank you guys for joining. Good luck on all your bets today. Please like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. We'll be back we'll actually have our Monday live this week. So Monday live NFL, I believe. And then we do our sporadic lives like you are watching today before big games or obviously big events like college football week 1. But we appreciate you guys. Good luck on all your bets, and we'll see you in our next live.
See you Monday, guys.